Check this.
Well, that's a tricky, fun little pinch clamp on the bottom here. Ha! I will not be outdone by a pinch clamp. At least not this time. Alright, that's out of the way.
Perfect. Perfect.
One piece down, so go. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was why I got the car, and it's because my wife had a Scion TC, which is a great car for, you know, a little daily driver, but we have two dogs, one of them being, you know, a Great Dane, which you'll see running around every once in a while if you haven't already, and a half pit, half German Shepherd. And, you know, we like to take them out to the river. We've gone to Missouri and back with them now. And, you know, they don't really fit in the hatch TC, Scion TC. So, we decided we needed something that would make a good daily car, and then we could haul our dogs around it. Plus, I've always really wanted to get a Subaru. And I knew about the Foresters, and I knew that they made an XT version. So I said, fuck it, let's do it.
However, it is extremely hard to find a used one for a decent price, especially in Arizona.
Yeah. Sorry, this is my train of thought. But you know, it kind of like checked all the boxes for us. It's kind of fun and sporty. You know, it's not boring. It's a decent looking car. It's got that classic Subaru sound that everyone loves. That was a big appeal for us. I know that kind of sounds fanboyish or whatever, but you know, it's true. And it really is a hooligan machine. It's the 2004, which is the year that they decided to go turbo with the Forester. The first year they decided to go turbo with the Forester, and they used the STI motor of that year, and all they did was detune it a little bit. That's really gonna be fighting me. So, you know, it came with like 200 and, I don't know, like 45 horsepower, all-wheel drive, like every Subaru. And has a sunroof, you know, all the cool stuff, you know, you'd want for a family car to take on trips. Decent enough gas mileage for what it is, you know, no big deal. I'm not a huge gas mileage person, I don't really care a whole lot. Of course that thing is stuck. What? Okay. And so far it's been really good. We've been to southern Missouri and back in it with both our dogs. It was pretty funny. I put like a mattress in the back kind of, and we would take turns driving and sleeping in the back with the dogs. And it was amazing, it was awesome. So now it's time to, you know, like the goal was always to do about 400, so 400 horsepower in this thing just to kind of make it really fun, but still somewhat reliable so that we can still use it as our fun family car. You know, if we ever need to go snowboarding, it's got all-wheel drive for snow, you know, rain, all that good stuff. I don't know why I just took that off, but there you go. It's got AC, heated seats, you know, all that fun stuff that everyone likes. Sarah seems to enjoy it so far.
Mm-hmm. You sad that I broke it?
Yeah. Watch out for plastic intakes on radiators.
Or just pay attention to your gauges. Lesson learned.
So, you know, now the goal, this only has hurt head gasket. I mean, it still drove, but if you built boost or drove it kind of hard, like up a hill or anything, it would start to overheat. And it was getting coolant out of the exhaust. So, yeah, kept having to fill it up. So I could have just replaced the head gaskets, but like I've always said, if you're gonna take it apart, make it better. So, but no better time to upgrade than when you've already got it apart. So the plan now, like I said before, is, you know, complete bottom end, new oil pump, things like that. And there's some really cheap and affordable kits that have really good brand name stuff in them, like, you know, JE, Weisco pistons and Eagle rods, you know, things like that. I don't think I'm going to go into the heads. I'm obviously going to get them machined and make sure they're okay. Replace anything that needs to be replaced, but I don't think I'm going to do cams or anything crazy like that. I'm going to build the bottom end to be able to hold about 600 horsepower. But I'm gonna keep it around that 400 mark. Because, you know, everyone gets all bent around the axle about, you know, I've got 1,000 million horsepower. Yeah, that's cool, man, but if you know anyone that has a real car that has that much horsepower, it's usually broke more than they drive it. Because things, yes, they can live like that, but it costs a lot of money, and it takes a lot of time and effort to get them to that level, especially reliably. Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna put it back.
Oh.
I'll see stuff on the internet all the time, and it looks like everyone has 1,000 horsepower or whatever dailies that they drive around, but it's just not true, man. It's the magic of the internet. And most of those cars I wouldn't call street cars. You know, like, this car will always have its AC, it's still gonna have its power steering, even though it just keeps destroying power steering pumps. I'll just keep replacing them. Thank God for lifetime warranties, but you know, it's always just gonna be a nice, fun car. It's not ever gonna be that crazy. Even as it is now with the bigger turbo, on like what, 14 or 15 pounds of boost, it's already a riot, man. It's a complete hooligan car. Like, it's so much fun. Good old rusty turbo. Heat treated. At least they didn't break though. Now, I know a lot of people think that all of this stuff costs a lot of money. It does. It does cost a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's just a car and you're putting thousands of dollars into it. But one thing that saves a ton of money, like no one realizes, is doing things yourself. And I reuse so much stuff. Like I don't buy a lot of new parts unless I need to, right? And I don't spend money on big name brand stuff, except for in parts or things that it really requires, like where you really need something superior, you know? Like pistons and rods. I wouldn't buy cheap pistons and rods. I'm sorry, eBay. Like, you know, Chinese made knockoff stuff, because that's something that's pretty important. You don't want to skimp on that, you know? I don't want to skimp on eBay turbos, although you can get very lucky with them. You know, I've seen a lot of cars make a lot of power on them pretty reliably, and I've seen eBay turbos last longer than people have owned their cars. Granted, I mean, people around where I live flip cars like they're pancakes, but you know, like, it can be done. You can get lucky. And maybe on that day, Chan didn't get his ass kicked by his boss because he was moving too slow, and he actually made a nice turbo. But it's pretty rare, in my experience. So, you know, you've got some poor guy in a sweatshop over there building turbos. They're probably not going to come out the best. They don't have the quality assurance that some companies do, like, let's say Garrett or, you know, Turbonetics, whoever you actually buy your turbos from. HKS, all those good ones. But hey, if that's the route you want to go, that's the route you want to go. But like, for all of my, for instance, all my fabrication stuff, like this up pipe that I made for this to relocate the turbo probably like 4 inches back and then 3 inches forward from the original mounting point to get it away from the corner of the head, because that's one of the problems with the Subarus blowing head gaskets. They blow them really commonly right here on this, I think this is the number 4 cylinder, because it gets so hot with the turbo right there sitting on it, that it just bakes the head gasket right there. Anyway, so I moved it, but I used all pieces that I already had laying around. Like, it wasn't anything new. Like, I had a bunch of scrap tubing the same size, and I just made one. That saved you a ton of money. All right. More part now. Well, that gasket was leaking a little bit. Not too bad though. Now, I've never had the pleasure or misfortune of taking one of these apart before, so I kind of have to figure it out as I go, much like most of you would, I would imagine. Not all of us are Subaru techs or anything crazy like that. So, if I look a little confused, because I probably am. These are really odd motors. I probably should be taking pictures of all this as I'm taking it apart, because I'm probably not going to remember how it goes back together. But that's what manuals are for, right?
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Very sneaky Subaru. There's some bolts facing up on the bottom of the intake here that are attached to what I believe is the fuel lines. And then another one holding this harness. So that's going to be tricky once I get to that point. so where we last left off, the batteries died. I was taking the intake off, so off camera I just went ahead and took it the rest of the way off. I did find that it is way easier. If you look here, I was trying to take off just the intake, but if you take off the TGVs, I believe they're called TGVs, down there's bolts on the corners here, the whole thing comes off easier. You don't have to try and take this off, you don't have to try and take this off, or the fuel lines, which all have bolts coming up from the bottom, which was a big pain in the ass. So now I have it off, I can just take it apart on the bench. It's way easier. So this is what we have left.
Check this.